You're listening to the StudioPTBO podcast, where we talk all things marketing to help you build and grow your business online. Welcome to the latest episode. Welcome to the StudioPTBO podcast. We are back, and we're back at it again with another guest. I am so excited that we have the opportunity to have Tyler Gibson here with us today. Before we get to that, and before we intro Tyler, I just want to say thank you for tuning into another episode. Really, our goal is to provide real estate agents marketing and mindset knowledge to help them build, grow, and scale their business online. If you're listening back on iTunes or Spotify, I want to say thank you more than anything. It really does mean the world that you took the time to listen and to get some value today. Really special guest today, real estate investor, real estate agent, somebody that I think can provide a ton of value around how you can really build, scale your business, by essentially investing, but by also, connecting with investors. So I have on the podcast with me, Tyler Gibson. How is it going? How you doing today?
Doing great. Loving today, getting a lot done. Excited to be here.
So why don't you give us a high-level overview, Spark Notes version in about a minute and a half on like who you are, what you do, why you do it, what got you into the kind of the market, and then we can kind of dive into some like high-value tactics on how real estate agents can really take their business to the next level.
Sure. So my name is Tyler Gibson. I'm a realtor in Orlando, Florida. I also have a small team of agents here that work with me. I started in real estate as an agent 2.5 years ago, and I started part-time. I was part-time for 2 full years. In that time frame, I went from 0 to 12 transactions my first year, part-time. And then in my second year, I did 25 transactions in 8 months part-time, and then quit my full-time W-2 job. That was $80K salary, full bennies, a great gig, and went full-time into real estate because I'd already doubled my income through my real estate business. And so we ended up finishing out the year with about 37 deals total. And this is my first calendar year full-time in real estate. So really excited to do that. But prior to that, I was a real estate investor. I bought my first rental property right after buying my first home. About a year after buying the first home that me and my wife lived in, we bought a rental property because it was a behavior that I had seen modeled by some family. And it seemed like a good idea. I didn't really understand the power of real estate at the time, but it was a turning point in my life and in my career. That first rent check that I got was the best, sweetest money I had ever made. And I was dedicated to figure out how I could make more of that kind of money. And so I dedicated myself to learning as much as I could about finding real estate and investing in real estate and how to do it profitably and safely. And that led me to a website called biggerpockets.com, which is the world's largest real estate investing website. And kind of the rest is history after that. There's a lot of other points, but that's kind of the how everything started and kind of how I got to where I am today.
You mentioned real estate investment profitably, and I want to start there. And I want to start with the common thing that I hear from the general public, but also from some real estate agents that hold them back from investing. And one of it is I can't find a deal. One of it is I can't, is this going to be profitable? And the third thing that I hear the most is, do I really want to deal with tenants? What are some of the shifts that you had early on in your investing career that helped you essentially overcome maybe some of those things that people consistently hold them back from essentially investing?
So what I would say is that the way that I went about it is probably not the preferred method. The reality for the situation was, for me, my ignorance was my greatest contributor to my success. I really had no idea about the roadblocks that would be in the way for investing. And so I just didn't think about them. I didn't think about finding a deal. Also, when I bought, it was a much different market. It was a buyer's market. So it was easier to find a deal when I bought that first deal. Since then, I've worked with wholesalers and I've bought from wholesalers. And what I would say is that the fear of all the things that could go wrong will always keep you from participating in something that other people are doing successfully. If you give yourself enough education to understand best practices and some of the things that could go wrong. You could prepare yourself for those situations. But the biggest thing that I think holds people back is just the reluctance to start.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's just calling somebody. For a lot of folks that I deal with, starting is really just contacting me. Most of my
Mm-hmm.
clients are out-of-state investors, and they're interested in buying here in Florida. And their first thing is contacting somebody just to say, "Hey, I'm interested in doing this thing. Tell me more."
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of folks, they don't want to start till they know everything.
Okay.
And in real estate and real estate investing, there's so much that you can't learn without trial and error. There's
Makes
just so
sense.
much that you won't be able to figure out until it happens to you.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing and the biggest mindset that people need to have is they need to be flexible in their plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's plan A. If plan A doesn't work out, you got to be willing to be flexible and just transition into plan B,
Mm-hmm.
or try to figure it out. We've done really well by just not giving up.
I love that. I love that, the just start mentality. Like what are some of the things that people that are getting started in real estate investing, like what are some things that they should consider, some things that they should look out for? And if maybe like we have a lot of entrepreneurs, real estate agents that are just starting, but just a lot of business owners that like want to create a portfolio. Like what are some things that they should consider and should look out for when considering to invest in real estate?
I think the biggest thing is identifying a market, and there's basically two different markets that investors should look for. They should look at their local market. I'm a big proponent of investing in your local market because nobody knows where you live like you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even if you're not familiar with real estate prices or rental rates or occupancy rates or those kinds of things related to your market metrics, you still know the parts of town that aren't desirable. You still
Yeah.
know the parts of town that are up and coming, right? Because you live there, you drive through there. You know your community so much better than Orlando, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not from here, you don't know what communities you should or shouldn't buy in, right? So first of all, invest in your local community first if you can. Now, if you're priced out of the market because you live in Southern California or something like that, and it's just unrealistic, well, then you want to look for, lower cost markets where there's job growth, population growth. I think that's one of the main things that people should look at when they're considering different markets to invest in
Mm-hmm.
is look at migration patterns
Yeah.
in that area. Are the people moving there or are they moving away?
Yeah.
Right? Net migration is what we're looking at, not necessarily how many people are coming and going, but what's the total net of those people that are coming and going? Is it a positive number or a negative number? And the more positive the number is, there's going to be a housing demand. There's going to be a strong housing demand in that market, which means that it's probably going to have increasing values. It's probably going to have increasing rental rates. And overall, you should be okay. And then the next step is, if you're going to look at a market that's out of state, contact somebody that's local, a real estate professional that can help answer some of those questions. Even if it's not the agent that you end up working with, or even if it's not the investor you end up working with, call and talk to somebody, and start to build a relationship. Real estate is a relationship business. And so start to build a relationship, ask questions. I have a lot of conversations with folks that don't actually do business with me, but I'm happy to answer questions because there may be an opportunity for us to work together.
Yeah, beautifully said. I think all businesses is so much relationship based. Even if you don't do business together, you have no idea the connection that person might make to another person. It just is. So I totally echo that sentiment about the more hands you shake, the more money you make. That common saying is so true. What are some markets that you're looking at right now, other than Central Florida? What are some markets that really are intriguing you right now? And what are some markets that people that are looking at maybe not just their hometown, like what markets should they look at right now?
So I think the other secondary criteria should always be how is the state in terms of landlord friendliness,
Mhm.
right? Is it really challenging to remove problematic tenants, or is it easy? Florida is one of the easiest, most landlord friendly states. Texas is a short follow. Um, So those states, Georgia is pretty good. Alabama, some central, middle America states are pretty strong. But again, you need to follow that up with the metric of what does net migration look like? Do we have, a population growth, or do we have, people moving out of it? You look at some areas like Cincinnati and Cleveland, Ohio, Detroit. Sometimes you see negative net migration in those areas. And so that may or may not be a great place to invest. So, first thing is migration patterns. Second thing is landlord friendliness. Florida, there's lots of markets here in Florida that are good, but also Texas, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Kind of that southern belt.
The southern, yeah. That kind of echoes a lot of what we've heard in the marketplace. I want to switch gears a little bit and chat, about what you're doing to help, real estate agents essentially connect with investors. Like, what are some tactical ways that real estate agents can find investors in their local market, or find investors at all? Because, obviously you get connected with an investor, you can close a bunch of deals, and it's a great opportunity in order to kind of build your business and increase your transactions. Like, what was kind of your approach in order to find, you mentioned bigger pockets as one, like what are some tactical ways that real estate agents can find investor clients?
Yeah. So almost every market probably has some sort of local real estate meetup where real estate investors are getting together and talking about the deals that they're doing, wanting to do, people they want to meet, people they know. So if you're a real estate agent and you want to start connecting with investors, you need to get plugged into the local real estate investor community. It's so important. So finding local meetups that you can go to and start meeting people. And then, as you mentioned, biggerpockets.com, it was really how I got started. I found that site because I wanted to be an investor, and I used it as a place to educate myself on investing. But I also went in and set up keyword alerts in the forums so that anytime somebody used the word Orlando or Central Florida or a number of other submarkets here in Orlando, like those small, city names, community names, I would get an email alert saying that somebody was talking about it. And then I would jump into that conversation, read what it was, try to answer any question, add value to the conversation. I always try to come from a value proposition standpoint. How can I add value to this conversation? How can I add some additional information? Maybe it's just encouraging or reiterating what somebody else has already said because they've said exactly what I would say. I jump in and I give that response. And a lot of times people, they might vote on your post if it really is insightful. They give it a like and that sort of thing. But then you can also, request to connect directly with that person, that individual, and then send them a message. So if they're asking questions about buying real estate in my area, or what do rents look like, what does that market look like for investing, they may not be working with somebody. And so I'll try to add value in a public space to everyone there. And there's a secondary reason for that. I'll get into that in just a second. But then I'll also make a connection request and send them a direct message that basically says, "Hi, my name is Tyler Gibson. I'm a local real estate investor and realtor here in Central Florida. Me and my team help people that are out of state looking to buy here. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, even if it's just to refer you to a property manager or connect you with a local resource. Let me know if I can help in any way." And again, it's not a sales tactic. It is, but it's not. I really do just want to help people. And very oftentimes I just refer out my partners here in the area, such as property managers and contractors and insurance brokers and mortgage brokers, because people need access to that. But I'm building a relationship that's predicated on adding value. Totally. And if I can help them with something else related to a real estate transaction, great. But that's not my sole objective. And anyone can do this practice in their local market for free. You can set up your account for free. You can set up keywords for free. You can jump in and respond for free. You can make connection requests and messages. It's all free. So that's one of the ways that I got started. And the beautiful thing about working with investors is they buy differently. There's no emotion involved. It's all a mathematical equation. Yeah. And they tend to be repeat clients
Totally.
because they're building a portfolio. They're going to come back. They're going to buy another one. And if they have a really great experience, they're going to tell their buddy, yeah, I'm making $300 a month. I'm not doing anything.
Totally.
You know, I got into it for this. Oh, you should talk to Tyler. And it happens. And it's great. So, and then, you know, I also do some paid advertising through the site, but that's kind of a different thing. But the benefit of answering those questions in the public forum is that when people are researching your market, right? Maybe they're out of state and they're researching your market. They're going to search the forum for Orlando. And then they're going to look at the recent posts or the recent forums that Orlando's was discussed. And oftentimes, and I can say this from experience, they're going to read that entire forum thread, all 20 pages. They'll read through every single comment.
Yeah, they're researching.
Oftentimes. And so they will see your face on every single forum thread about Orlando investing. And they're going to see that you're adding value and answering questions. And it just builds your social proof to the fact that when you reach out, they go, oh, I've actually seen him anywhere.
Yeah.
And if you do it long enough over a big enough period of time, you may become a pseudo celebrity in your market. My dad lives here, and he was at the gym with his personal trainer. And they're having a conversation, and the personal trainer was saying he was getting a real estate license because he wanted to get into real estate investing. And my dad said, "Oh, that's my son's a realtor. He does real estate investing. Are you familiar with Bigger Pockets?" And the guy goes, "Yeah." My dad goes, "Oh, well, his name's Tyler Gibson." He goes, "Oh, I know him. I've seen him."
Yeah.
Right now, I don't consider myself a celebrity by any measure in the imagination, but there are other people that have approached me in that light because I've been so active and I've been out there and I'm just trying to continually add value. And then when they do get on the phone with you, it's a totally different dynamic, right?
100%.
You don't need them as much as they need you, and they already trust you.
Mhm.
So, anyways, that's my tactic. If people want to know more, we actually do free coaching, and I actually delivered this a couple of weeks ago for about 175 folks that were on live, where I actually went through and showed them what we were doing and how we were doing it, and gave them all of the tips and tricks.
It's so interesting because, like, you know, you echo a lot of the sentiment that we say when we're working with real estate agents around, like, everything takes a little bit of time, a little bit of volume, and a little bit of retooling. And it's time, volume, retooling, time, volume, retooling. It's like, I think a lot of people give up because, like, at a certain thing because they don't give things enough time and volume. So exactly what you're saying, where it's like, if you just show up consistently, provide value on a consistent basis over time, over that repetition, A, you become better, and B, you know, more people see you. I'm really interested in something I want to add is like, we have a lot of clients in Canada. A great tool if you're a Canadian realtor is it's called RAIN, a Real Estate Investment Network. If you're a Canadian real estate agent, I would highly implore you to get connected with them because they're all real estate investors in Canada. So if you do want to get connected there and you listen back to the podcast, highly implore you to check out RAIN. You know, I worked with them for about a year, and a ton of great value for the Canadian market. But when it comes to getting investor clients over the finish line, because I think what happens a lot, it's like you can get connected with an investor, a real estate agent can get connected with an investor, and maybe they built a relationship. But like, what are some things that you're doing in order to kind of like firm up the deal with the real estate investor, that they feel confident enough that you're the guy that's going to help them get the deal? Like, what are you doing differently that's getting people over the finish line? Because obviously a lot of real estate agents probably talk with investors, like, you know, it's like they get an opportunity, but like they don't have the tools and the resources they need in order to get people over the finish line. Like, what would you say to that person that has a real estate investor in front of them? Like, what should they say so that they don't verbal diarrhea information?
Sure. Well, I think it's important to know what your system and your process is. You know, we have a very concise process. You know, people book a phone call with us. We spend 30 minutes on the phone with them. And that 30 minutes is actually critical to deciding whether or not we're going to work with them. And I explain to them, this conversation is so that I can understand what it is you're trying to do and figure out how I can help in that endeavor. And if I'm the right person for that, great. If I'm not, no big deal. I'd love to connect you with the right person.
Totally.
But what that also does for me is it means that I can be selective on which investors I want to work with, because we don't do everything. We are specialized. We do long-term buy and hold in the broader Central Florida area, and then Disney short-term rentals. So if you want to buy a Disney short-term rental, or you want to buy a long-term rental in Central Florida, then we can help you. But if you want to do flipping or wholesaling or Airbnb arbitrage, or large commercial multifamily properties of 5+ units, I don't do that kind of stuff. Me and my team, we don't specifically do that. We have partners that we can connect you with if that's what you're looking to do, but we don't do that. And so that conversation is critical, because you do have to understand what their goal is, not necessarily their strategy, but their goal. Is that investor wanting to retire in the next 5 years off of passive cash flow? Or is that investor a high income earner that's looking to offset some of their W-2 income taxes through write-offs and grow their net worth, build a portfolio for their retirement in 20 years because they like what they do, right?
Yeah.
And those are two very different people. One person is okay not having a substantial cash flow on their property because they can have a larger cash write-off from their income, and that may even be a better deal for them than something that gives them a bunch of positive net cash flow, because they're trying to offset a different set of income stream, versus the person that wants to retire in the next 5 years with passive cash flow. They need high cash flow, but they also need to be able to leverage their money well. So they're probably going to leverage a burst strategy. If people know what the burst strategy is, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So and those strategies are very different. So you have to understand what the strategy is, right? Maybe they're a high net worth individual, but they want a Disney short-term rental because they want to come and visit once a year with their family, or twice a year with their family. Again, very different clients. We're going to point them in very different directions. We're going to even look at different markets and asset types. So that first conversation is critical in understanding who they are and what they're trying to do. And then we put a plan in place, whether that's I'm going to put them on an automated email campaign, or I might connect them with one of my team members who's going to do a concierge mode, which if you're just starting and you're just starting to work with investors, I highly suggest you leverage some sort of a concierge mode. And that's actually like a technical term within our MLS, but essentially what it is whenever a property that meets the criteria that I've set in the searches pops up for one of my clients, if they're in concierge mode, I get a notification. I go in, I look at that property, and then I approve whether or not I want to send it on to the client. So I'm literally cherry picking the best opportunities for those clients. I'm doing a little bit of research on the front end. I'm figuring out what the rental rates are. I don't do a full property analysis because I don't want the liability of that, but I can at least gather some data points to provide to them that they can go plug into an internet calculator for rental properties, right? Mm-hmm. And then I want to make sure that I position it correctly. Is this a cash flowing deal? Is this an equity play? And just communicate that to them. But at the end of the day, I'm not a salesperson. I'm a consultant. I'm an advisor. I'm helping them do their thing. And so that 30-minute conversation typically gives you some clues as to whether or not they're really serious or whether or not they're just trying to do some investigation. And if I'm unsure, I'll ask, are you ready to do something in the next 30 days, or are you just trying to figure some things out? Because that answer is going to determine how I might process them, right? I might put them on an automated email if they're just trying to look around and figure out if it's the right market. But if they're ready to go right now and they'd buy the next deal I put in front of them, well, then I'm going to put them with one of my agents who's out hunting for a deal through concierge mode, and get them in front of those deals as quickly as possible, and then do contracts. But most of our clients are out of state, so we do a lot of virtual showings, or in this market, we just do sight unseen offers, because that's what we have to do.
Yeah, in order to get the deal. There's a few things that I want to recap, and I want you to maybe dive a little deeper into this, because I think every real estate agent, whether they're doing multifamily, whether they're doing investors, whether they're doing, whether they're just selling, homes, like every real estate agent, like if you listen back, if you like pause back and you listen to everything Tyler just said, the first thing was discovery. And I think that is so important, that a lot of agents don't do enough discovery. They just immediately go to the home and they're like, they start going into showing and they don't really understand like the person's needs. The second thing you said was process. Having a clear process, you know, is everything we echo inside of our Real Estate Growth Academy. Having a clear process for how you get somebody from point A to point B to point C is absolutely so important to get people over the finish line. But the third thing you said that was really unique was like the niche market, understanding who you serve and who you don't serve, because that becomes a unique selling proposition of like, you know, the why. It's like, I'm great at these specific things. I'm great at short-term Disney rentals. It's like that's a value proposition. That's a unique selling proposition. A lot of clients, when they come to us, you know, they're like, hey, we want, like, we'll work with anyone. We'll work with anyone. It's like, but the clients that really win are the clients that niche down and say, hey, I only work with waterfront property in this area. It doesn't mean that you're only going to get waterfront property in that area. You have the choice. If somebody comes in front of you, it's like, hey, I want to take this deal. I need to make money. But that unique selling proposition and that positioning in the marketplace really makes you, it builds your credibility and your authority. Like you said, that pseudo celebrity authority in the marketplace. How did you come to the realization that that these were the things that you needed to do in order to be successful in? Sounds like you have some marketing background. Like how did you learn that you needed to do these things?
So I actually don't have a marketing background. I've done sales in the past. I did telemarketing for MCI WorldCom a long time ago.
There it is.
Back when people had landlines.
Yeah.
You know, and I've done some other hardcore sales thing. And the reality is that I hate sales. Yeah. If you asked me in the past, I would tell you that I don't enjoy sales because I always felt like I was being pushy and bothering people. And that just didn't sit right with me. Now, some people, they're great cold calling and door knocking, and they don't mind bothering people. It's just like water off a duck's back. And if that's you, more power to you. I wish I had that skill set, or I wish I had that mentality. It's just not who I am at my core. At my core, I want to help people. I want to serve people. And I worked as a project manager, which it's funny you use the term discovery. I had never considered that that's what I was doing. But we actually had a discovery process as a project manager. Whenever we had a new project come on, I installed software, but the software was extremely customizable. So every time we met with a new client, we had to understand what their process was. We had to spend a considerable amount of time with them, discussing what their needs were, what worked well, what didn't work well. And so I love that you use the word discovery. That's exactly what it is, even though I would not have called it that without your prompting. I might steal that from now on.
Go ahead
and label it the discovery call. I might actually label it the discovery call, book a discovery call. Anyways, so that's how I got to that point. Yeah. Everything else, the process was trial and error, because when I first started, I was part-time. I was talking to maybe 1 or 2 people a week. If I was lucky, it was more like 8 people a month. Sometimes it'd be 3 a week, and sometimes
that's pretty normal. That's pretty normal for the average real estate agent to talk to, 5 to 10 people a month. Yeah.
And we learned that, but I had worked in software services, and so I understood the power of automation and services and processes and setting up a process and following a process, and how it can free your mind to be better, right? Mm-hmm. When you say, this is what I'm going to do every single time, A, B, C, you can turn it off and not think about what you have to do next, right? And you can just do that. You can also teach somebody else to do that. And if you teach somebody else to do that, then that's called leverage. And now you've freed up more of your time. You can start thinking about higher level things. And that's what I wanted to do. When I started doing sales, actually having sales, it was fun. It was exciting. It was also a little exhausting, a little draining to do transactions. And I started to realize that I wanted to have a business, something I could work on and not always in. And in order to do that, I needed leverage. If I was going to leverage, I had to be able to replace myself in some capacity or in multiple different areas. And if I'm going to do that, I need to be able to tell somebody what I do. If I'm going to tell somebody what I do, I probably need to have a process that I follow, because you can't be like, hey, I want you to be me.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
How do I do that? I don't know. Figure it out. Watch me. Right? That doesn't work. So it was a process of self-discovery. also, when I first started getting when I first started having these conversations, the way that I was being contacted just wasn't super simple. It was coming into my email. I'd have to go into my email. I'd have to pull up the phone number. I'd have to dial it on my phone. It just wasn't very simplified. And so coming from a software background, thinking about how can I programmatically move this stuff around, get it into my CRM in a great way, and then immediately start contacting those people, doing speed to lead to make sure that I connected with them as quickly as possible, and put myself in a position to have a conversation and reducing the amount of time it took to do it. So that's kind of the way that I've approached that and thought about the processes and kind of our evolution. But we're constantly tweaking, constantly looking at it. What can we do better? What can we, and how can we get better information about our clients? I'm a big data geek because I worked with data. So tracking data and gathering data and having information about people was really important.
Yeah, no, I totally echo that. The automation, the process. I think any entrepreneur, any real estate agent, if they can just invest some time into actually figuring out how to build, like what a process actually looks like, do some investigation, and then actually building a process, I think that would definitely leverage their time and allow them to grow quicker, because they, like you said, they can go out and hire somebody that can do the thing that they want to do. So that they can focus on income generating activities like, having more conversations and connecting with more people and learning ads and learning all these different things. So Tyler, like I really want to thank you and honor you for your time today. I think you provided just so much value to our community, and from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. If somebody were to want to reach out to you, learn a little bit more about what you want to do, or maybe they're a real estate agent that is looking for investors, or maybe they're looking for a deal in the Central Florida, like what's the best way that they can reach you?
So they can find us on they contact us through our website, gpghome.com. They can find me on Instagram at real_Tyler Gibson. I got a link tree on my Instagram that has access to all my things. So folks can find me there, and love to talk to folks and help folks. And if you're an agent and you want to learn what we're doing and how we're doing it, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. And if you're an agent that wants to do more sales, see more sales tactics, join us on Tuesdays for free coaching at Double Your Income Coaching. It's not just me. It's actually a host of people, and most everybody's way more successful than I am. We're talking about millions and millions of dollars in gross commission income by some of these agents. So it's a powerful community to be a part of.
Tyler, really do appreciate your time. Really do appreciate you. And, just for taking the time to chat with our audience about how they can grow their business online, and just the tactics and the automation and the process that they can put in place in order to free up some of their time. And I want to say thank you more than anything for tuning into another episode of the StudioPTBO podcast. Like I mentioned, probably on like 8 podcasts ago, we have resurrected this podcast really with the focus of helping the real estate and entrepreneurial community with marketing and mindset knowledge, help you build, grow, and scale your business online. And that's really our mission, and that's really our vision for this podcast. So I hope you had a ton of value. All we ask is that we don't monetize these podcasts. So if you could leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify, it would really mean the world to us. That's the only ask that we have for these podcasts. So I really do appreciate your time. Really do appreciate your attention. Thanks for tuning into another episode of the StudioPTBO podcast. We will see you all soon.